It's the 16th of November. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. Um, so hopefully everybody's doing well out there. Hey, Pannerman, thanks for joining us tonight. Not sure what I know each heart. I was recently told each heart means a different color. Not sure what that one means, but back at you, I guess. Um, I live in the Western New York area, and we're preparing for a big snowstorm, which is very normal. And I was just out at the grocery store, and my brain is a little fried because there were a million people there because apparently we've never had snow before. So it's going to be a very fun weekend in my neck of the woods. But let's do some Houdini tonight and forget about all the craziness that is out there. So hopefully you're all doing well as we're getting slowly into this winter season, kind of late fall, early winter. I was just out with the side effects education team for a couple of events last week. One was in New York City. The other was in Austin. And we had a good time. It was really great. Got to meet some cool people. Had some great presentations from industry and from some people on our team. So keep an eye out on the Side Effects website. Those should all be live fairly soon. Not sure when exactly, but I would guess in a couple weeks. They'll get them edited and loaded up on the internet. But yeah, yours truly will be doing a presentation on USD and Unreal. So you can check that out if you'd like. And we've got some other cool presentations on metahumans with kineffects and, just some random other things, industry panels and, stuff like that. So if you are interested, check out the Side Effects website. And you can, let me see if I can grab the link for that. I'm guessing it will be under our news feed and it will be here. So my guess is that this will be updated when that'll be updated when it's time to when they're all edited and such. So check that out. I don't know why I posted that at Discord, but whatever. Anyways, hopefully everyone else can see that. If not, I'm just going to excuse my double post, but I just want to make sure everybody gets this. So there we go. We're good. Okay, cool. So that's the link right there. Take a look. Those presentations should be online fairly shortly. But so what I'm thinking of doing tonight, I saw some interesting stuff. I saw this really cool effect where it was like a soccer ball or a football on the grass, so rest of the world football on grass, and it was like getting like twirled and sucked up into it was kind of interesting. So I was thinking of doing something like that could be kind of fun to figure out how to do something like that. But instead of using a rest of the world football, I will use an American football to do the little effect. So I'll just make a little football and we'll go from there. So that's my idea for tonight. Do some cloth and then add some, some grass hair type stuff to it and see what we can get. So there we go. That's that. All right. Well, let's jump into Houdini. Get some stuff going here. Let me just save my project first before we. Cool. Yeah. Hopefully that'll be something interesting for you there. All right. Let me just dive in here. Make 11:16. Just say. Something like that. All right. So what I'm going to do first is I think I'm just going to start with the ground first and kind of get that working and doing something interesting. So let me get there first and we'll kind of go from there. Hey, Wallaby8, I think is how you say that. Hello. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you with us tonight. All right. So let's do a geo here. We'll just call this Ground. I usually like to put geo at the front of mine just to kind of organize them a little bit. So there's geo ground. We're just going to start with a simple grid. Nothing too crazy here. Yeah, maybe we'll make that a little bit bigger. I'm trying to think. Football. Yeah, let's do it like, let's just up it by like 10. We'll do it like that. Because a football's like a meter, right? No, it's not a meter. It's probably like a half. It's probably like a foot, right? I guess. Yeah, it's probably about a foot, maybe a little longer. How big's a football? I don't know. I'll figure that out in a second here. Let's do a quick Google. American football dimensions. Let's see what these things are. Yeah, wow, look at that. Just about a foot exactly. Cool. All right, so let's just as a reference, let's just do geo, do a geo football as well. I'm not going to exactly make that just yet, but I'll just put a box in here. And we'll do the size, set it to like 0.33. So that's roughly a third of a meter is a foot, so that's roughly the size of it. So, yeah, that's good. If we're doing something like, you know what, we can probably get it a little smaller than that. All right, so we'll leave that templated, and let's do something a little smaller. Maybe we'll do it like 15. Yep, that looks good. Let's set this to like 100 and 100. That should be good, I would think. Something like that. Yeah, we'll start with that. All right. So, yeah, I think I'm just going to have it on the ground plane. And what we'll do is we'll have it like collide with the ground, but give it some forces to kind of spin it around or something like that. So let's kind of start to build this up a little bit. So let's do a cloth, configure cloth here, just to start the process. We'll do that. Let's see how thick this is looking. Honestly, I might want that to be a little thicker. Yeah, let's do it a little thicker. Let's do it like 0.5. Should be good. So I want it to kind of have some thickness to it. I don't want the ground to just feel like it's this like thin cloth. I want to have a little bit of thickness to it. So let's do something like that. We can unvisualize that. And let me also do, let me just do maybe like a line in the middle here. Because I want to do like a vortex force. I think you can do a force along curve, and that'll be probably the easiest way to do that. So let's just grab a line here. We'll set this. Let's see here. Yep. I'm just going to give it, maybe I'll do, here's what I'll do. I'll copy this parameter. So I'm going to make this so it's like centered on the plane. So we're going to do it, paste relative references here, but we're going to do negative distance and then divide it by 2. So that'll do it like centered like that. So as we make the length go higher, it's going to just stay right in the middle. So that should be good. That'll kind of give us this centered noise. And in fact, maybe we don't need to do it quite that much. Maybe we'll do it divided by 4, and it'll just be a little bit under the ground plane and mostly above. So maybe that'll be a little bit better. So now as we lengthen this, it'll go up a bit. And that's just in case it goes, well above this plane, because we want it to kind of be swirling maybe around this. Okay, cool. So, yeah, that looks good. Let's now, okay, so we've got our kind of curve force here. I'm just going to hide the other objects. Let's go back here. We've got that and our line. Great. Okay, so let's do a Vellum solver here. And what we're going to do inside of this is we're going to use some pop forces inside of here. So let's dive in here. Let's do pop. Let's see. I think it's a... Which one is it? Yeah, I think it's the pop curve force. That's what we want. So let's bring in this. We'll say null here. Just to grab this, and we'll say... just make a little curve force. There we go. So we'll just use that right there. And in fact, let's actually make a couple more points here because I think it's gonna kind of try to sample at each of those points. So let's make it like 10 points, something like that. Great. All right, so let's come in back in here. Turn off the points, and let's grab that SOP path. There's our curve force. Great. Yep, there it is. Perfect. So now we've got this pop curve force here. Let's just kind of see what happens by default, and we can start playing from there. Yes. So I didn't put the ground plane in. It's trying to pull it up, but not successful. All right, so let's do our ground position here. That's good. Let's hit play here and see what happens. Okay, not really enough of a force to get this going. Most likely that is because the weight of this is not being able to be moved by that force. Another thing I'm going to do here is just lift it up just a little bit so that we don't have that weird little bounce at the beginning. So maybe we'll do like something like that. Let's see. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So let's just come into here and see what we can do with this. So let's do some air resistance. Let's just see if we double that, what happens here. We should start to see it actually affecting it. Yeah. Now there is a suction force and a follow force that's happening here. So I'm not getting a lot of orbit on this. So let's see why that is. Orbit force. All right. Let's go a little further with this here and see if that's part of our issue. Might be, might not be. Yep, now we're getting a bigger influence. However, we're not getting that orbit. Let's see if we can do something like this. There we go. All right, now we're getting that spiral going. Cool. Nice, nice. All right, so let's set this back. Let's leave that maybe at like 10 for right now. Let's see. So I actually don't want it to be following. I don't want it to be pushing up at all, I don't think. Or maybe very slightly. Maybe we'll do like a quarter there. Let's do this at... make this a little smaller because I don't want it to be spinning the whole thing evenly, I don't think. And I also don't want it to really suck in. So let's try to lower that as well. And let's do the air resistance up. Let's see if we can't get this to do something interesting here. Maybe we need to go a little higher with the influence radius here. Let's see. So we're just going to have to kind of play around with these forces, I think, a little bit here. Kind of see what... It's not. Okay, so let's try to make the suction force a little lower. Oops. By timeline. Because obviously that's turning it into a little ball there. We don't really want that. So we just want it to kind of be rotating around. All right, cool. That's maybe a little bit more interesting. Let's try to turn down the follow scale as well. I don't really think we want it to be pulling up per se. So let's try that as well. So that's just going to give us a little bit maybe to work with here. And the other thing I think we want to do is not give it so much power when it gets to the middle, but honestly almost be a little bit more like on the outside, because as it gets closer and closer to the middle here, it's, you know, it has higher and higher force. So like if we look at the orbit force, this is how it goes as it falls off. And I actually feel like we almost want to invert that so that it's not maybe so strong in the middle, but maybe stronger at the outside, or maybe it's a little strong in the middle, but more strong on the outside. I don't know. Something like that, maybe. You know, or where it's stronger in the middle. You know, there's a million different ways that we can kind of go about this. So let's see if we do maybe like a hill. Maybe that's what we want. Maybe we want it to be a little bit stronger in the middle. And then as we get to the center, maybe it goes up a little bit. Maybe it's like that. And also at the outside, we give it a little bit more. So maybe it's something like, that. Let's see if we redo that, how that kind of affects the whole thing. Okay, cool. That's starting to do something maybe a little bit more what we're hoping for. Let's see if we can do anything here. Global force follow from curve, force along length. Yeah, the force along length is basically just saying as it goes along, how does its scale kind of change? And it really shouldn't change much over that. It doesn't really matter. Whoops, don't need to use expressions. Okay, this is already resampling the curve, I see. Let's see if we do something like this, if we up it just a little bit more, how that's going to work. Okay, it's starting to do something there that is kind of interesting. Okay, so what I'm going to also do here is do a pop. I don't think there's a pop noise, right? Nope, but there's pop wind. We're going to use that to affect this. So let's add some pop wind in here, and this has noise built into it. So let's give it an amplitude of, let's just try 1 to start with, and we'll kind of go from there. Let's turn off this curve force for a second, and we can maybe see a little bit better what's actually happening here on this. So let's just kind of play around with some of these forces. 4 is probably a little too, well, actually, not that it's too much. It's just that the swirl size is probably too big. So or too small. Let's up that. Let's double that. See where that gets us. Let's do both of those bigger. Yep. So we'll start to get maybe a more interesting simulation there. Yeah. And let's up the pulse length a little bit just so it's not so chaotic. Maybe it'll be a little bit slower. Yep. Yeah, that's kind of cool. All right, so let's turn this on now and see kind of how those start to work together. So we're going to have some swirls, but then also we're going to get, should have some noise injected in there. Although, well, let's let this play for a second. I just want to see what this looks like in real time because we're only getting about 9.4 frames per second right now. So this might actually be going a little too fast anyways. So let's see how this looks. Oh, I got to hit my little stopwatch down here so that it actually goes. Yeah, I think that needs to be just a little slower on the twist there. So let's turn the air resistance down on that. It's kind of hard to see that until you start to really go in real time here. So let's do that. Let's do it to 10. We'll start to maybe give this some. Actually, you know what? I think it could be maybe a little bit more interesting with a higher, just a little higher on the suction force, so that it kind of bunches in the middle a little bit more. So let's try that. And let's see, pop curve force. Let's go to the suction force here, suction force. And yeah, let's try to up the suction force a little bit. Let's maybe set that to 1 and see where that gets us. All right, so what I'm going to do is actually turn off this orbit scale for 1 second. We know it was at 10. So I just want to see what the suction force is doing in and of itself. See how strongly it's kind of affecting this middle here. I think it starts to kind of calm down a little bit. But I think what we could do is actually do something a little bit, oops, a little bit more like this, possibly. Let's see how that looks. So it's really only pulling at a small section of it in. Let's see how that kind of, what that does. Yeah, it's probably too much. Obviously. Obviously too much. It's really interesting how these kind of once you start to get over the static friction, how it starts to kind of move faster and faster. So you have to kind of balance these forces pretty, um, pretty specifically, honestly. And now that I'm looking at it, I feel like we could probably make this grid a little bigger. So let's do that. Let's do it to 20. Yeah, heck, let's do it to 25, just so we've got plenty of kind of real estate to play around with here. Could probably up this a little to like 125 just to make the mesh a little tighter. It's not too many, so we're not like really affecting too much there. And let's do this a little higher as well, something like 10 maybe. Oh, you know what? I'm actually going to switch these because the order here does matter. So if you think about it, we're actually doing this curve force. We were doing the wind first and then the curve force. So well, I guess it doesn't matter so much. It seemed like it mattered a little bit, but I guess maybe not. Maybe it's just that this curve force is kind of has a stronger influence than the pop wind does. So let's try that. Let's take the air resistance and set this to 10 as well. And then we can actually turn the amplitude maybe down a little bit. Hopefully that'll be fairly balance it out a little bit. Because I want there to be the noise in there, right? But I just don't want it to be... Yeah, that's cool. That's kind of interesting. Okay, we're getting somewhere here. Let me turn the orbit scale back up. Maybe we'll try 5, see where that gets us. Didn't really seem to be twirling the way I want it to just yet. So let's see if we can balance that out. Let's do 7.5. Let's not go too crazy just yet. See where we can kind of fit that in. Maybe we do need to go all the way up to 10. We'll see in a second here, but yeah, it doesn't really seem like we're getting the twist that I was hoping for. So you can, oops, let me just up the accuracy of that float. You can see here that there's a lot of forces kind of that we need to balance in and out to be able to kind of get this simulation where we want it to go, right? So in this case, we're trying to kind of push this noise and have that balance with the twist and these curve forces that we've added in. So there's always this kind of give and take to how we want this effect to work, or any effect really with cloth or dynamics or anything like that. So that's going pretty well. All right, so I think a couple other things that I want to do here is adjust some of these cloth. Well, yeah, let me jump into the cloth thing. Let's just dive into these crazy nodes. No, just kidding. Sorry, double clicked on there. Just a little note there. If you ever want to see how this stuff is calculated, you can, or set up, you can go inside here and see everything that's going on, how these crazy people have set up these nodes. It's pretty cool. Anyways, let's just adjust some settings here with our stretch and bend. So I'm thinking that we might want a little bit more bend stiffness because I don't want it to feel like it's able to just bend all over itself. So let's maybe give this a couple more. So we're at 3 zeros after the decimal place. Let's go to just 0, 1 and see kind of what that gives us. See how that adjusts it for us. What it's going to do is you're going to see that the cloth shouldn't bend over on itself quite as much. It should be a little bit more stiff from the sense of bending. So that is one. And you can see here we're getting less of these like fine kind of folds in the fabric. And really that's just a factor of it, reducing the amount of stiffness in that bend. So you can see in these little points where it's like it was really folding over a lot before. In fact, let's just do a flip book to kind of compare the two. So this is where we're at right now. I'll just flip book this real quick. Actually, let me get a camera actually in here so we can kind of define a look. Let's do it like right there. Cool. All right, so let's look at this with smooth wire shaded, just so we can kind of see what's going on here. And I'm going to turn off this. Let's just do flip book. We'll see how this looks. The only reason I'm starting with this one is because obviously we have that all cached. If you're new to Houdini, this blue line down here is basically your simulation cache. So that means it's loaded into memory. All right, so let's look at this. And then we'll take a look at the other version as well. So here's this version kind of animating, right? So we can see that, yeah, it's somewhat stiff here. It's not just folding over on itself like crazy, but if we go back in here and we reset this back to that, and then I'm just gonna hit this little button here to give us a new part of our timeline. If you go into Windows and sequence list, it's basically making a new sequence here. So when I hit this button and go back to MPlay, you can see there's a new sequence here that I can use, and this will allow me to compare them against each other. So what I can do is I can do compare images, and now it's a split screen top and bottom. So the left side is the old stiffness setting, and the right side is the new one. And you can see how many more small detail folds are in that left side, and it just makes it feel like it's way thinner. Like there's way less like mass there, way less kind of holding it from folding and stuff like that. So on the right side, we've got this much more dynamic, kind of slower, maybe heavier sim feeling versus the right side. So we haven't messed with the mass at all. We're just changing the bending stiffness. And I might actually even up that a little bit more just to really give it the kind of feeling of weight that I don't want it to feel like it has all these little tiny ripples, because then it almost feels like it's like silk or satin or something that is able to kind of ripple and kind of bend more easily. But that's a way you can compare those things really quickly. I'm just going to minimize that. So let's go in here. Let's do 0.1 instead and just see what that looks like. And it could be somewhere in the middle. It's easiest to kind of go in these big, grand kind of, factors of 10 jumps, and then you can always go back and dial this just straight stiffness up or down by a certain amount. And yeah, maybe that's a little too stiff. Like it's feeling just a little like it should be bending more than that. So that's maybe a little too stiff, which is fine. We can tweak that. So let's do 0.01 and let's just try to go in the middle. We'll multiply that by 5 because these are multipliers here. So we've got a 5 times 0.01, so it's going to be halfway to the next factor of 10. So let's see how that looks. That's feeling pretty good. I mean, this is all going to be down to kind of personal preference and things like that. So yeah, that feels about what I would hope it would feel like, I guess. Cool. I do want to have a little bit more twist though, I think still, which is interesting because now we're kind of pushing that a little further than it was before, but that's okay. Let's see if we can do 15 on that and see where that gets us. Because I want it to rotate a little bit to kind of have this like rotational aspect to it. There we go. We're getting some of those little ripply, twirly kind of things going in the middle there, which is cool. And maybe it'll just be changing the influence ratio as well. We can see that twist is just starting to happen in the middle there. So let's maybe up this a little. And just a reminder too about Vellum and what's actually happening here is that Vellum is a point solver, right? So everything's happening kind of at a point level. The connections or the constraints are being made with lines that are just primitives, polylines, but we're getting these. Really, all the simulation here that's happening is based on points, and so it's making sure that those points are connected with the constraints that we've set up. But that's why we can use these pop forces though, because we're really just calculating what's happening with the points in this system. So something to keep in mind when you're working with Vellum. Yeah, maybe we go a little higher with this. I don't know. I want it to spin a little bit, not too crazy, you know. And since we've upped the influence of the noise, that's obviously going to be balancing here with the twist as well. So these are again all things that you kind of have to consider as you're calculating as you're tweaking these settings and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, this is starting to feel kind of how I would want it to feel. That's feeling pretty good. We're getting some interesting curls there. A little bit of a spiral at the end there. Yeah, it feels pretty good. Maybe I'll do one more increase of up to 25 and see where that gets us. Maybe that'll be too much, maybe not. Again, a lot of trial and error with simulation stuff, especially with the parameters that you're setting. Be just a little too much. It seems cool, but it just maybe is a little too much. Yeah. Let's do 22.5. Kind of cut the difference. See where that gets us. I bet you that'll be right in the sweet spot. Basically, I don't want it to just be like spinning like crazy, but I also don't want it to be completely stationary. I want to have a little bit of rotation to it, but not too much. And I think this is going to be pretty much perfect. I think we're going to be right in that sweet spot now. Yep, that's feeling pretty good. Cool. Getting some cool fabric going on here. All right, great. Great, great, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up so that we can have a couple different streams of geometry coming in here and make these constraints based on groups basically that I've set up in here. Because if you look at the top of any of these constraints, you can set them based on a certain group. So I'm just going to add a group in here. Call this just going to call this group ground. So that is going to be good for that. We'll have that. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to add some grass to this. I want to scatter some like hairs basically into here to create some sort of like a little grass effect and connect that to the ground. So let's do that by, I'm just going to make this in a little network and just say, network box and just say curve force geo. And one thing to keep in mind too is we could adjust this, we could animate this curve force geometry and make that a little bit more interesting if we wanted to as well. So we could also do that maybe later on as we kind of get this effect looking more and more the way we want it to. But what we're going to do first is let's do a scatter. We can just take that scatter right off of our grid because we know we want to scatter it to the grid. So that should be fine for right now. We can just do something along that density that's about 1,000 points exactly, which is great. Let's grab another line here, and we're going to use this as the geometry that we're copying. So let's do a copy to points right here. I'm going to shift click on both of these outputs and drop them in there. That'll put one into each. So now we've got our little hairs kind of sticking off of that ground, and we're going to start making some constraints and things like that. However, we only right now have 2 points on those. So we want to up that a little bit. So let's adjust that. So let's do something like, well, actually, no, what we'll do, we'll resample those because I think what we actually should do first is make some p-scale noise. So let's just do float. Let's do an attribute adjust float. And we can use this here to randomize our p-scale. It's actually set to p-scale by default. And here we can do an operation. We can just do set initial. We don't need to really add to anything, but we'll do based on noise. We can do that. And then there you go. We're starting to see some randomized scale because what this copy to point node does is looks at what's coming into this first or into this second target points and looks for the p-scale and basically scales all of these incoming geometries based on that. But we don't really want to do it quite like this because obviously our minimum value is 0 and that means there'll be basically no height to them. So let's do something instead. Let's do a middle and range. So let's say the middle value is going to be 1, right? So that's our middle value. And let's do a range length of, oh, I don't know, 0.5, something like that. So now we'll have plus and minus 0.5. So here we should have, or sorry, plus and minus 0.25 because we're going 0.5 from either side of it. So here you can see it goes from 1.25 and it should go all the way down to basically 0.75. So if we take half of that, you know, that range basically fits around the middle one. So you can think of it as 0.2, half of that range length on either side of the middle value. So that's how we've got that. And we can also, if we wanted to, we could do uniform with outliers. That's just going to make some that are like drastically bigger, but it's really not how grass works. So we're just gonna leave it like this. So that'll give us some variation in it, not a ton, but just a little bit. So it's not all exactly the same height. And the cool thing here is that if we did something like added, multiplied this by 10, we're going to get that pretty similar pattern going here because it's just based on noise. It's not totally random. It's based on positional noise. So we can adjust the scale or the element size here and change our noise pattern through this as needed. So, maybe we leave it at 1, maybe we want to do something like 0.5, to adjust it so we're not seeing maybe that noise pattern so much in there, whatever. You can play with that as you desire. But we're going to just leave this like this for right now just to kind of start to make sure this effect is working. So we have all of those, but we still only have 1 point on each. And what we'll do is we're going to do a resample after the fact. Here, I'm also going to bring these down because we're going to merge those in. So here we have a resample. And the thing that's going to be nice about this is that it's going to try to kind of evenly break these all up so that they're getting an even distance between most of the points here. And I'm just thinking I think there's one that makes sure that the last segment doesn't go like super tiny or super long, but maybe that's already set. Okay, I see. this is actually the button. So that is on by default. So what that's saying is that it's going to slightly shrink the points so that it'll make sure that it's even with the rest of them. So anyways, yeah, so I think that might actually be better to turn off the even last segment, same length. It's a weird way to phrase that. Huh. It's just kind of a strange statement. Anyways, it's almost like a statement instead of like a parameter. I don't know. It's just weird. So now if we look at this, I wonder, let's look at this from the side because I think this might make a little bit more sense if we look at it from the side. Sure enough, there you go. So when you look at it like this, they're all happening at the same distance. So it's not going to perfectly match the height of it. It'll only allow it to be one of these segment distances. If we do this, it'll let it be a little bit more random, but you'll see that this is now slightly different across each of them because it's kind of scaling them so it has a very similar, the same distance basically between each of them. So, you know, whichever way you want to do it. There's lots of different things here that you can tweak. Let's leave that on for now. We'll see how this goes. Should be fine. But anyways, I knew there was a thing with that, so I just wanted to check that real quick. Right. So we've got all those set up there, but probably don't want them maybe that many points per. Kind of hard to say. I guess that's fine. We'll leave it for right now. Let's do yeah, let's group it. And let's also set a curve view attribute here. So we're going to have curve view that's going to set the distance along each of these curves. So if we just visualize that, just to give you an idea of what that is, let's visualize it. So I clicked on that there. That adds a visualizer. And if we go down to this little icon here, right click and edit it, this is a way that we can change our visualizer. I'm going to change it to a marker and we'll leave it as text so we can see each actual attribute here. So we can see this is 0 to 1. So 0 is our base. So that should work good. And we can actually turn that off. Actually, I'll do it that way. So we'll leave that on. So what I'm going to do instead of there's a couple different ways that you can do this, I believe. I think if you do, let's see, points. Can I do it that way? I'm trying to remember exactly how this, I saw somebody do this really easy and I'm like blanking on how they did it, but that's okay. The way I'm going to do it is just say curve, say base group is at curve view equal to 0. And that should be all the roots, right? So now all of our roots are grouped. So I'm just going to call these pins because we're going to pin those down in the sim. And I am also going to group this and do this as primitives and just call it grass. So if I come down here, this should be all of the primitives. I'll turn off the points. So that's everything. That's all going to be grass. So let's grab both of these. Let's grab this and shift click that. If we hold down Alt and click, that'll create a merge node, and then we can drop that right in here. We're going to get a little warning here because it doesn't have the exact same attributes on either side, or sometimes you'll get that. Actually, it showed it for a second, but now it's gone. Whatever. Okay, so we've got this vellum cloth here, and we're only going to run this on the ground. So if we look at this, that should be right. If we turn this off, it's actually trying to add those constraints up to the grass as well. So we'll just add this to the ground for right now. Great. And let's stretch this out. Oops, stretch this out a little bit. Let's just do maybe hair, or is there string? No. Okay, I wasn't sure. I think let's do hair. So we'll do Vellum configure hair, drop this in line, all those nicely connect. And so now this is going to try to do hair constraints. And what we're going to do is add that to just the grass. So now the grass should have those hair constraints. So that's good. So let's say we'll call this ground cloth. We'll call this grass. And we also need a something to attach it to attach the grass to the ground, basically. Because if we just run this right now, we're going to have hair that's just going to kind of fall down and just move all over the place. So if we let this go, the hair is getting affected by, the gravity and everything. But it's really not like glued down. It just can kind of fly all over the place as needed. So that is not what we want it to do. The other thing we actually probably don't want to do with this is have the grass be affected by the wind, because then it's going to feel more like wind. What I want it to do is feel almost like the ground is rippling, and that's causing the grass to move around. So we should be able to do that in here as well. So what we should be able to do is come here into the group and say, right, because these are points. Let me just think about that. Okay, so if we take this grass, and instead of doing it on primitives, let's see if we can do this on the points. I'm trying to remember exactly what the best way of doing this is, but let's do points here as well. Let's see, ground cloth. Let me just make sure that that'll work as well. I'm just going to select, is ground going to work? Let's see. No. Okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll just promote that also to a I'll also promote that to a point group. So what I'll do is I'll do a group promote. And I'm just going to take group name ground, new name. I'll just say ground points. We're going to keep the original group so it doesn't delete it. And now we should have both things that will be in there to work. So that should work for the ground. Great. Same thing over here. This will be a primitive group. And we can just copy this over. Call this grass. We'll call this, grass points. Okay. That should be good. Now we have grass. Yeah, mismatch. Yep, great. So we have grass points, grass, ground. Great. Should be good. There's our grass. And what we can do here is we can actually, we should be able to now turn this and, well, first of all, let's set this and make sure. So let's do grass points and we'll come down. Oh, actually, no, I want that just to be on ground points. My bad. Let's turn off grass points. And then we'll come down here, group. We'll say ground points. So let's see. This should just move the ground and the grass should not really be affected. It should just kind of fall down. Sure enough. Yep. There we go. So that's what I want. Now, they're not pinned and they're certainly way too wiggly. But conceptually, this is what I want it to do because I don't want those forces to be affected to make it look like it's wind. I just kind of want to feel like the ground is like rippling and doing some interesting stuff. So we accomplished that, right? We got the ground to be moving from the forces and not the grass. So that's great. Now we just need to pin it together so that it'll actually stay together. We also need to make this hair a little stiffer so it doesn't just flop over like a noodle. Oh, another thing I should probably do real quick is I'm going to go into the simulation. I'm just going to up this a little bit. Let's do like 48 gigs just to make sure we got plenty of room here. In fact, probably don't need that much. Let's do 36 just to give us enough to fill out this cache with both of these elements in here now, because now we have 27,000 points. Not that that's a lot, but there's just more constraints and things like that it has to keep in the solver. So just something to keep in mind, your cache. But don't put that over. I would say never put your cache over like half of your RAM on your computer, because you're just going to end up crashing everything and be really sorry down the road. So, anyways, all right, so we got the grass. Let's do another constraints. Let's do Vellum constraints here. Oop, that didn't take. There we go. All right, so this is going to be let's see here. What are we going to do? We're going to pin to target. No, that's not what we want. We want to do attach to geometry. That's what we want. Okay, so we're going to take the points. Let's do the pins. We're going to attach that to the target group. Let's see here. Maybe we do it this way? No. Okay, let's just say do it to ground. Is that going to work for us? Right. That's right. This is not the one I want. I want it to be glue. Yeah, see that's a little bit of a misnomer. That actually is saying that we want to attach it to either I think the collision geometry or an outside geometry. What we probably would want is glue instead. Yep. That's what we want. All right. So that is looking fairly close, but the problem here is that these are offset a little bit. So maybe that's not what we want. What do we want here? Struts. Not. Is that grayed out? Polylines, triangles, and quads are supported as the target geometry for constraint generation when this option is enabled. So if I do that, sorry, just thinking about what we need to do here. So it's not glue. So is it stitch points? Yes, that's what it is. Stitch points. Man, there's so many that are similar. You forget. All right, let's see if that works. That should be what we need. Let's take a look. Yep, looks like we've got what we need. We can see that they're attached. They're actually moving with it. They're not just falling off, although they are falling over. They're not falling off. So that's good. Okay, so let's play with this grass a little bit. First of all, let's visualize the thickness here. Make sure we're at a good state with that. Yeah, it seems fine. Should be good. Oh, you know what? Before I go crazy with any of this stuff, let's just add in a little bit of stuff here. Just some substeps, some constraint iterations. Let's just see kind of where we're actually at here, because this is really going to drive this pretty heavily. These different these different effects and stuff like that. So let's see where that gets us. So I don't want to go too crazy with this. Because obviously as you up the substeps, you up the constraint iterations, you're going to get a much more accurate solve. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So let's try something like this, like 3, and just start to kind of play around with this a little bit more. Obviously slows down the more substeps you put in there. So that's why I was kind of playing around with it a little bit of a higher or a lower rate, I should say, so that it's not, um, taking quite as long in those kind of initial iteration steps. One thing we might actually notice here is that the fabric could feel actually a little too stiff. I wasn't thinking of this when I was dialing that stiffness in. So if we need to, we could always, tweak that down a little bit. We're not going to get as much folds and probably bends and things like that. So we'll see. We'll see as needed here. But yeah, let's just actually do a little flip book of this so we can kind of analyze it. Do that. Grab another thing here. Let's start analyzing this just so we can see it. I'm going to turn off the compare because we don't really need to see it compared to that other one at that point. But like how the hair just flops over. It's so bendy. It actually doesn't feel too far off of what we had before. Let's turn this back on and see. Um, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit, maybe a little more able to move here, but I think we're fine. I think it's in a good spot. I don't think there seems to be anything that's really all that altogether different. There's a few little details here and there, but really that's just what you get when you up the substeps. You're going to get a little slightly different sim, but it's also going to be quite a bit more accurate. So, it should be ballpark, but depending on how you have it set up, mileage may vary. So I'm just going to escape to cancel out of that. Let's just go back to 2 for right now, just so we have a little slightly higher. Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's starting to come together. So let's turn this grass. Let's get this stiffness on this a little higher. So stretch. Yep, we don't want it to stretch, but you see here our stiffness is very, very low. So let's just try this like above 1. Let's just give it like 10 question mark. I don't know. I'm kind of guessing here, so we'll see where we go with this, but they're like weird spikes. Maybe too stiff. Oh, I know what's wrong. Um, so something to keep in mind here when you do when you use stitch points, it does have its own bend stiffness, right? So let's go back here because those are clearly too stiff. So let's do like that. Maybe we'll try that for right now. But let's also go to these constraints here because this should have some sort of orientation type stiffness on it. So let's see. Might be missing it. All right, let's see how this looks. Let's just check this first and then we'll go from there. Yeah, so feeling that around that thickness is what we want, but we're not getting them actually stand up. And I think that has to do with how they're being constrained. I guess that constraint isn't the right one. There's always so many of these Vellum constraints that sometimes I forget which one is which. um don't think it's weld points. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Could be on the solver, maybe. Let's see here. Guess that's what it is. Maybe weld points. No, maybe not. Looked like it was for a second. That was weird. With that weird flick at the beginning. That's really strange. Oh. No, I don't think that's what we want. Because watch what it actually does. It's trying to weld them to the closest point. Maybe that'll do it. Hold on. Maybe this will do it. Let's see. Gotta be on this all over again, dum dum. Ah. I don't think that's what we want. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. That's not what we want. Oh, man. That's funny. Yeah, it's not weld points. Hey, how's it going? Andri? Welcome. Gosh. I, I'm missing something here. Something simple. It's not glue. I don't think. Let's just try it. I don't know why I'm struggling so much with this one. I think it's that one either. Just up the substeps a little here just to make sure that I'm not just missing out on it because of substeps strictly. No, doesn't seem like it. They're still falling. No, there's literally just there's one constraint that I'm thinking of, and it's why it's not working for me. Why I'm not thinking of it is beyond me. Well, let me just try something here. Let me go back to this with one. Let's just try for really stiff grass first of all to make sure that I'm not totally missing something. Yep, I'm definitely not because they're falling over even when they're super stiff. So that's clearly not the issue. Oh, cool. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that you advertised it for me. Yeah, I feel like somebody yeah, maybe it was you that mentioned that they've been looking that it's hard to find Russian YouTube or Russian stuff um for Houdini. I don't remember if it was you or someone else, but someone definitely mentioned that. So that's interesting. Well, I'm glad you found the channel, and I have no intention of learning Russian anytime soon, but glad that you're here. So hopefully my what I'm saying makes sense in English for you. So sometimes I just babble on and on. All right, so let's see if we can't figure out what is going on here. So it's not the glue. It's not. I feel like it's this. Let me just go through them. Just try to remember. Bend across triangles, cloth, hair. String is also a thing. Orientation. That's what I'm thinking of. The orientation pin type. Is that not showing up? Okay, so maybe we do this. Maybe it's pin to target. Maybe I was wrong. So orientation pin type, same as position. So that should hopefully pin the orientation of these. So let me see if that's it. Maybe I'm just was overthinking stuff before. Oh, what? What's going on here? Ah, nope. That's not it because it's trying to pin it somewhere else. Yep. Yeah, it's definitely I've definitely done it before. I'm just blanking on what the setup is. Just need to constrain these to the ground. So that should be ground. Okay. And then this, okay. Yep, that's what I'm looking for. Tangent stiffness. Same thing. Man, is this going to work? Oh, that looks really funny. They're like dancing on top of it. They're not actually pinned to the geometry, but they're like dancing on top of it. Like a bunch of needles. Wait a second. Is Vellum attached? Oh, cool. Thanks. I think Bara. Glad to have you on the stream tonight. Thanks for joining us live. We'll see where we get with this. It's interesting. I actually think some of them are attached and some of them aren't. That is really odd. Huh. All right. All right. We got something maybe going there. Let's see. Let's set this back. That. It's really. Oh, cool. Well, welcome from Japan. Wow, what time is it over there? Isn't it like crazy different? I want to say it's like many hours different. Hmm. Interesting. This is exactly the thing I was thinking of was this tangent stiffness. Now, why that isn't showing some of these other ones? Yeah, those are all I don't know why we're getting that. All right, we're gonna do it. We're gonna pull up the old help card here because there's so many different things here. I keep like going in my head. I just want to read what they're saying. Pins, target geometry. Yep. Okay, pin to target is pinning to animation. Attached to geometry is attaching to the third input. Okay, stitch points. Stitches points within the same geometry together using distance constraints. Um, oh, cool. 11 a.m. That's not too bad. I'm my wife and I are planning to actually go to New Zealand next year for a vacation, and we're figuring out all the time stuff, and we are just like our heads spin every time we look at the time differences and how that works. It's like, man, that's crazy. Like when you take off and you land in the west coast of the US and then you actually like took off later in the same day than you landed, it's like the weirdest thing. Very strange, but cool. Well, glad you're watching. I know one of our 3 a.m. Wow. Night owl. Nice. You must be over somewhere in Europe or something. Ah, Belgium. Cool. Welcome, welcome. um yeah, so all right. So let's look at this. Stitch points is now weld points. No, we don't want that. Glue. I am Yeah, maybe. Hmm. This would be best to do in two different sims. Because what we would end up. Oh! I know who you are, Mr. Pannerman there. Yeah, we were chatting on Discord. Yeah, if you guys ever want to connect with me, please hit me up on the Discord. There's a Houdini Hangout Discord that you can connect with me. It's you can find that at houdinihangout.com. And 10:15 a.m. So yeah, if you go to houdinihangout.com, you can find all of the obviously links to the stream. So if you happen to find me on Twitch, you want to watch on YouTube, blah blah blah, all the links are there to my different things. And there's also an invite link to Discord. We have channels that allow you to suggest topics. Right now, I'm kind of in the midst of. I'd actually put out a suggestion thing that said basically like, hey, I'm thinking of doing a Q&A style, stream, drop it in the chat below. And so if you have any thoughts or anything like that that you have questions or anything like that, please drop them in there. And I'd be interested to see, kind of what you guys are thinking. So, any questions or thoughts or things like that, kind of we're gonna have like a Q&A one, maybe next week or something, when I'm streaming, just to kind of have, a little bit more interaction and stuff like that, and be able to maybe have quicker questions and answers. So if you have anything that you've been wondering about or would like me to try to, figure out and come back to you, instead of maybe in this more live, real time question and answer thing, but maybe give me a little bit of time to think about it and kind of pose my answers, and then we can kind of go back and forth from there. So, anyways, drop those into the Discord server, and yeah, I'd love to connect with anybody. And again, I've been forgetting to say this recently. I just kind of dive into things, but if you guys have any thoughts about what I'm doing or if I'm screwing something up, I mean, I don't know everything about Houdini. No one does. So please, no matter what your knowledge level is, you maybe are working on something right now that is something that I haven't worked on in a while, and maybe you remember one little thing that I'm like beating my head against the wall, thinking, why am I missing this? Please feel free to drop a suggestion in the chat and just say, hey, here's what I'm thinking, or have you tried this? Love to hear anything. So yeah, just something to kind of throw out there as usual. So so back to this thing that we're playing around with here. Why? I just don't know why this is giving me so much trouble right now. So I think what I want it to be is glue. Well, actually, what I want it to be is pin to target, because then it will actually do what I want it to. So let's try this. Let's take this out of here. Let's just do the cloth simulation here. So we'll do that. Oh, yep. I actually don't want this. That's what I want. So let's just do the cloth simulation here. Let this go. Right. All right. I'm going to do a Vellum IO. Drop this here. We're just going to call this cloth sim cache. Yeah, this should all be good. Instead of putting it in Geo, I'm going to put it into sim, just because that's how I roll. Let's just save it to disk and background. That's going to load up the top network that's inside of here and start running through all those nodes. And the reason that this is so nice is that we can still work in Houdini while it's caching. So that is obviously very nice. So let's take our grass points here, and I think all we're going to need is our geometry output there. So let's just kind of shift these around a little bit. That's running there. Great. Let's just try this. Nope, not all of you, just one. Right, let's throw those in there. Cool. All right, so we've got our grass points here, and then this should be our ground geometry, and that needs to load. So there we go, starting to load. So we're going to pin it to that animation here. So, oh, actually, no. What we're going to do is we're going to, yeah, let's do it this way. I'm going to organize this a little better. There's our grid. There's that. We're actually not going to merge these together. My bad. So we're going to take this, and this is going to be our grass here. And then this is actually going to be our collision geometry. So we're going to use that in that path. So here, when we get to these constraints, we're going to attach it to geometry. It's going to attach to this collision geometry. We're going to attach it at frame 1, which is exactly what we've got going on here. And we should be able to say tangent stiffness. Yeah, lots of tangent stiffness. Let's do that. And then let's just grab this same Vellum solver, keep kind of the same settings here. Just cut those guys. And if we do hold down J and Shift, we should be able to attach all those at the same time. Beautiful. All right, so now we have this collision here. Let's just turn off the collision, show that, and let's just maybe do this instead. Let's see where we get with this. Okay, let's see. So let's. Uh, okay. I'm guessing that it's actually now the bend stiffness that's causing this issue. So let's up that a little bit. Let's say. Let's just go crazy with it. See if we can just get it stiff. I don't know. I just wanted to stay up, basically. Let's do that. Bring this. Leave that there. Fine. Can always turn these things down. I just want to get it to stand up straight and not fall over constantly. Hey. I truly don't understand why this is not staying up. Hmm. Just look at these here. There's definitely something very strange going on. Just see if that does it. I don't know if it was too thick and it's just pushing it up from the ground, maybe. Nope. Let's try another thing. Notice that if we adjust the density, sometimes these things will work. Solver, yep. Forces. Let's go the other way. Let's see if we make it lighter, if that does it. You know, I really didn't think this would be the trickiest part of this, and I don't know why this isn't working the way I want it to. It's all right. We'll figure this out. The joys of, let's just see what happens here if we do this. Yeah, it's not going to animate at all because, of course, it's not going to animate at all. It's not. Because those aren't moving. Um, See, the interesting thing is there is actually this pinpoint pin to animation. Um, can try that, I guess. Turn this off. I shouldn't really work, but yeah. See, it's getting collided with this thing here. But actually, just out of curiosity, let's just see what happens here with this hair if we have it pinned like that. So we're going to pin the points to the ground. Just leave them like they are and see what happens here. Maybe we'll even give them... Oh, does this have... Yeah, it does have those in there. Let's just turn off the group so these have maybe some forces on them. We actually turned the forces off before. Yeah. Okay. I have an idea. This seems insane, but let's try this instead. So we're going to scatter here, right? We have all this stuff, right? All this stuff is great. But what we're going to do instead is we are going to animate those pinpoints. Yep. So we're going to do. We're going to give this a shot. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but let's see. So we're going to do a point deform. So we're going to do the mesh to deform is going to be these. And we're going to just deform what the heck? Why is that not happy? What? What are you mad about? Not enough sources. Yeah, I know. I know. All right, so the rest is going to be the grid. The animated is going to be this. Oh, okay. You're just angry because I only had one thing plugged in. All right, so let's do pins. That's going to animate, and so hopefully we should see those all move around now. Okay, okay. I don't know if this will work or not, but we're going to give it a shot. All right, so these should all move around and animate with the cloth, basically. So just those root points are animating right now. So what we will do instead is put this into here. Do this. Oh, yep, I got to change that to match animation here. Oh, yeah, hold on. There's all those forces in there, which we don't actually want. We just want it to stay up. So turn those off for right now. Let's see. Oh, right. Because it's not actually matching the whole animation. Let's see. See if any of these will get us into a better spot. All right, so let's just reset these for a second. We're not going to do any of that. Great. All right, so let's try this. Pins. Do is we're going to do pin to target. Let's try this. Let's see what happens here. Not sure why these are all falling over. It's really annoying. Maybe the orientation is wrong on them or something. Hmm. why this isn't working. That's funny. That's funny looking there, just flopping around. All right. Ah, that's not the answer. This really seems so insane. Really feel like it should be this and this and attached to geometry like that. Attach frame is 1. Let's see, maybe I'll just turn off the target group. Maybe that's part of the problem. I don't know. Pins. Yep. Doesn't matter how far you are, whatever. Just set it to 1, I guess. Let's just revert this back to factory default so that I'm not getting weird stuff. Okay, let me try one more thing here. Let me do that point deform thing one more time. Let me see if I undo that. Can I go back to that? Kinda don't think I can. Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. So instead of doing that, let's try this. Okay, cool. Working. So let's also do a normal. Let's do orient. Let's do a poly frame. I think that would do what we want. All right, so let's do that up here actually, because that will allow us to scatter onto that. So let's do this here. Let's turn off that. All right, so let's look at these orient attributes. So we want the normal name to be up and the tangent name to be n, I think is what we want. So that's cool. That should be scatter onto that. And let's see here. That's weird. That does adjust it. That is really weird. Adjust that. Maybe the normal attribute is affecting it. Very strange. Oh, it must be relaxing based on the normal. Interesting. Okay, so let's just do this then. We'll just take this, and we'll do an attribute transfer so that that's not getting driven by that. There we go. So that should take the normal and the up, put those over onto it. Let's see if we see the normals here. Oops, there. Yep, those are all the normals on it. Then what we can do is we can do, let me just see what this is going to do. I think this is going to do what we want it to. It's going to set an orient attribute, which is basically, let's see here, orient. Let's do a marker. Oh, yeah, marker. And then we want to do axes. Perfect. So hopefully that will get driven through here and we'll get some nice deformations here of this orientation. No. That's not what we want. Okay. That's all right. We'll just do it with normals. That should be okay. It's not my favorite way of doing this, but that's okay. Orient is a little bit of a stronger way to make sure things are oriented properly, as the name implies. Copy to point will respect that. But instead what we can do is we can do a normal, just a straight up normal up here, just to get some point normals. Instead of vertices, we'll do it on the points. Get some nice normals here. Sure, p-scale. And then this will actually give us deformed normals. Great. So then if we put this into here, copy those, they will actually bend with it like so. But the problem is now that we have these laying down because the normal is actually defining the z-axis of these copies. So let's do this. I think it'll be like that. Yep. Now they're all standing straight up like we had before. And if we watch that through, they will bend over and move around. Great. Well, that's something, right? We're getting somewhere. All right, so let's do this. Let's see what we can do. So what we're doing here is I'm thinking that maybe if I have these all animated properly and then throwing them into a Vellum constraints, because we don't need that orient anymore. Turn that off. Maybe this will pin into place the way we want it to. So if we do that to match the animation and leave it like that, maybe that will work. Let's see. It's weird. What was that little bounce? It's so strange. I don't know what that was. Well, this is definitely getting a little closer. All right, let's turn the. Okay. Hmm. It's bending at all. I don't think. Oh, no, they are a little bit, aren't they? Not a ton, but a little. All right, so let's actually turn the stiffness down a little bit. See if that'll do it. Whoa. The heck is going on there? You can see the gray are the color of um the original kind of roots and things like that. Oh, maybe this is working. Maybe it's close. Let's see. Let's go back a little. Split the difference here, maybe. Not sure what that jump is there. It's really strange. Let me just see. Is that something in here? Understand what that is. That all seems fine. Right, let me just adjust this a little bit here to make sure it maybe takes from a few more points. Maybe just a little more radius so that we're not. So we're getting maybe a little bit smoother result there. Cool, maybe. Something here. I don't know what this little bounce is going on. I don't know what that bounce is. That's so weird. See, that's getting added in there, maybe? Not sure. What is that? I mean, the good news is this is actually working. Not totally breaking. Really not sure what that weird little bounce is in there, but let me take these out just to make sure it's not that. Let me take this out to make sure there's nothing weird going on there. Let's see here. Damping ratio. Okay. Anything change here? All right, let's just try that as soft. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe we don't want it to be. Maybe soft is better. Just see here. Is there anything weird happening here? Jumps in data. Seem like it. Okay. Let's see. Do we have any that? Are these changing? Just double check. Make sure our pins aren't like jumping around or anything weird. No, those all seem fine. Could it be the resample? That could be it. Yep, it's probably that. Let's turn that off because that's probably what's doing it. So let's just change these to be a set number of points and then it'll scale. Let's see if that works better because that is probably what was doing it, if I'm guessing. What's our error here? What do we got? What do you mean stretch constraints is not a valid group? I'm just going to go in here, see if maybe we're just getting a random error for some reason. Ah, that's the problem. Pins. Okay, we can just do that same. Oh, well, yeah, we'll just do the curve view here. We'll just do a resample up here instead. Just call this good. So we'll do this here, set curve view, because that's the problem. This is not getting, this is now, there you go. That should fix it. Sure, I guess. How many points does this give us? 11. Let's do that. Great. All right, that should work. This should hopefully not freak out anymore. Let's see if I can reset this. Yep, there we go. Just freaking out, that's all. Because I turned off pins. All right. Let's hope we're back to where we need to be. I think we're getting our effect going here. Yes, hooray. Absolute crazy pain. I can't believe that that's the best way to do that, but oh well, might ask some questions about that in the coming days and say, am I missing something? Why does this not seem to work well? But okay, so we've got our grass here that's kind of being affected by the underlying simulation of the ground. So now we're getting somewhere. The other thing we're going to do is we're actually going to put this in here so it collides with it. Or at least it should collide with it, maybe. No. What? Maybe instead of that, maybe we'll just put it right into there for the collision. It's the problem all along. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Let's do this then. How far up? What is the thickness of these? Let's see. Grass. Let's see if we have P scale here. Where's our P scale? Right there. All right, so what I'm going to do is actually just going to transform these up. What's our maximum P scale here? 0.00, let's do 0.009. So let's just transform these up. Let's try by 0.009. let's try that. Let me just see here. Let me go into the front view, make sure that that's actually doing it now. Yeah, that seems right. Actually, let's just set this like that. That'll just give us a little bit of wiggle room for all of them. Okay, so let's go back to perspective. See if that works. Oh, plus the thickness of the ground, which is probably like that, I'm guessing. Just do something like that, 0.25. Because the ground has thickness as well. At least I believe it does. Yep, P-scale. Let's try that. Okay, I'm just going to go a little higher, just to make sure it's not totally screwing us up. Okay, looking good. So let's do visualize, show collision. Can we do thickness here, maybe? It's absolutely insane. I can't believe how ridiculous this is being. Everything I expect is just too. I mean, like, this looks pretty good. It's just I don't have any collisions with the ground, so I don't understand. Don't understand. All right, let me try one more thing. Because there should be times where these will collide with the ground. Probably will be. I guess I can't say for 100% sure, but there's definitely going to be a time when they do. All right. So, yeah. My apologies. It's got off the rails here a little. I don't know why this is acting so strange. Okay, so let's try one more thing here. Let's do a constraint. Add this in here. Grab this. Put that into the collision. All right, so we got the Vellum constraints. Let's do this as a attached to geometry. We're going to use just the point pins. Let's see. Let's see how that works. Just fall over because they don't have any orientation. God, kidding. Okay, maybe this will now work. God, I really hope so. This is crazy. Okay, that's the attached to geometry. What is it doing? Okay, so what if we do this and pin these points to the animation? Feel like I'm losing my marbles, guys. Well, thank you for sticking with me if you have up to this point. Trying to figure this out, why this is not working the way I would expect it to. This we can set back to 0.1 because they don't need to be so high off. This is like 90% of the way there. It's just not colliding with the ground, which I don't truly understand. But what we are going to do is I am going to take a break. I'm going to get a drink. I'm going to come back. Hopefully, my brain will clear up a little bit and I'll be able to think about this properly. So, in the meantime, enjoy some coffee, some Houdini Hangout coffee, and I'll be back shortly. Thanks. All right, so that was a fairly quick break, and I'm have another thought that I'm going to try out. So I think instead of trying to just go straight, um, I think I should be able to do this all in one simulation instead of two. I feel like that's really screwing me up. So let me try that again. All right, so we have all these guys here. We're grouping it. It's all going great. Actually going to just ignore this stuff over here. Just pull that off to the side. We're not going to use this point to form, I don't think. We're going to take this cloth and we're going to merge the, yeah, I'm just going to cut this off here. And we're going to take this and merge it together. Put it in here. Sorry, I'm making kind of a mess here, but I think you'll see what I'm doing. All right, those are connected. Great. Let me see if I can reorganize this a little bit. Bring that up there. This up here. Here we go. Okay. Ground cloth. Turn off the normals. Great. That's ground. That's the same. Grass. Here's our grass. I'm going to turn off the pinpoints because we don't want to use that. We don't want to match the animation. We just want it to be glued together. So let's get rid of this constraint. Let's do constraints again. I'm going to try something a little different. So let's do glue, right? So we're going to glue those together. Let's see if I can't make a couple more constraints per point. Maybe something like that. Max search distance. We'll give it a little bit more distance like this. Right? So far, so good, maybe? Something like that. This may not be the right way of doing this, but this should actually work if I'm thinking about it correctly. Which maybe I'm not. But anyways, so what we're doing is we're kind of making these little triangles at the base of this. Let's do this as like 0.35. Cool. So we're making little triangles at the base of these so that they stay upright and they should retain their orientation. Triangles are strong. Strong triangles. All right, let's just give it a shot. Who knows? Oh, right. I don't have the two guys in here. Copy those back over. Okay. It's like, why is that not moving? Because my forces aren't in there. Well, there's the answer, I guess. Felt like it should be more straightforward than that, or more elegant, where it's just one point that glues it together, but just need to stop for a water break. All right, it's working. Hooray. We've got collisions. Everything's in one simulation. What a dope. You know, sometimes you just got to do it wrong a million times before you get it right. And hopefully I'll always remember that now. All right. So maybe we should just up our grass a little. So let's do our scatter. Let's do something like maybe 5,000. Cool. Okay. Ooh, what happened here? Oh, we've got a mismatch there. What is this warning me about? Nope, that's not a warning. That is a doesn't compile. I see. Gotcha. All right, let's go back to our camera here. take a look at what we got going on. Cool. Seems like it's mostly working. However, I have a feeling that we're actually getting some constraints across each other. Yes, I am right. So, the group should be grass. The target group should be ground. There we go. Now we're only getting grass and ground. Beautiful. That's the problem. I was like, why are some of those looking like they're bending over really weirdly? It's because they were constrained together and doing some funky stuff. So that should constrain a lot better. We should have much better, collisions and things like that. Now, the reason that I wanted this to be... Ooh, that's weird. We're still getting some weird stuff going on in there. What's going on here? Let's see. It's falling over like that. That's really odd. Hmm. Just out of curiosity. That create more stable? It's so weird. Those are like jumping up in the air. Okay. Well, let's just go back to where we were before because that was working just fine. And I don't want to troubleshoot that anymore. Thank you very much. Okay. We can do a little. We'll do 2,000. Don't need to do 4. We could probably just do 3 is probably enough. Let's do nearest. It's probably better. Let's see how that's working again. All right, let's do this through camera 1. Let's flipbook this guy. Start getting something going on here. Oh, I actually overwrote that flipbook, which, fine, whatever. It's not going to be the end of the world. It's not a great flipbook anyways, so we'll just use this. Just let that loop through a little. Yep, there's nothing at the end. Could probably go down a little bit in the sub steps, but that's fine. We'll leave it the way it is for now. Give us a little bit better of a simulation result. One thing that you'll notice is that if you don't hit this little button up at the top here, it'll just start writing over that same sequence of flipbook images. So that's what it's doing right now. This will actually jump there, right there. It just jumped shorter. Now it's adding in the frames that weren't there before. So now it's just going to loop like it should. So it's looking fine, I guess. What's that? Incomplete. That's weird. There's an incomplete frame there. I don't know what that's all about. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to say what grass would exactly look like in this instance, but sure. It's doing something. All right. So don't think those are giving any stop that. I don't think these are giving any velocities to those. So this is ground points. Yep, that's ground points. Okay, cool. Good. So we've got that. Let me just do this. I'll bring this over here. And what you can do is we can do the same thing we did before. Attach that. And instead of version 1, we'll do version 2. And we'll save that to disk in the background. I could have actually just saved it to disk, but whatever. It's fine. It'll work just fine that way because we'll still be able to work in the viewport here. So these, I think we're going to use these as like guide curves and maybe do like a little groom from this, maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure how that'll work out exactly, but we'll see. Let me just put a couple nulls down here that we can reference. So this is going to be, let's see, Vellum Geo. Set out Vellum Geo. I don't think we'll need anything else, but I can just do Vellum constraints. Great. Just color them. Okay, cool. So now we've got our Vellum geometry here that we're outputting. We can grab groups from this. Obviously, the grass has its own group, and so does the ground. So we can really easily split those apart. All right, so there's our, we'll call this, we'll just say Geo Vellum Sim. Actually, we'll leave it because that might freak it out. I don't know what that's going to do to this in here. We'll just leave it for a second. I'll let this finish. All right. We were going to add in a football, but maybe we'll just leave that for now. And let's do a... I think the groom happens here. So let's do this. Does a hair generate? Okay, so let's do this. Groom object, let's see. This should generate hair from it. Let's... just do this. We'll do an output here just to make sure that this is actually always getting output. And we'll pull this in here. So we'll say geo ground, accept. We'll say the group is grass, I believe. That's not, let's see. Is there hair in here? So I guess I'm thinking it only works up there. Oh, yeah. Duh. I'm doing this so stupid. Sorry, guys. Let's just do this. We'll do geo and we'll say geo dense grass like that. So we'll take this, we'll object merge in the grass there. So let's do Vellum geo accept, and we'll take the specific group, which is going to be the grass. So we'll just say here get grass like that. Red I usually put at the top of my networks as I'm creating them. So there we go. We got get grass, and we're going to do hair. Let's do, I think we want to do hair generate. That's what I think. Okay. So what we'll do a couple things here. So it looks like it's going to want some other rest geometry. So let's grab a few things here. So let's grab this grid. We'll just say, no, we'll just say rest grid. So we know we can grab that because it wants the rest geometry. And we'll go back down here and we'll say object merge again. This we're going to say get rest grid. And we'll find that, which should be right here, rest grid. Great. That's not animated. So we'll put that into the rest skin. Let's see here. This is going to be looking for, we don't actually want to do that. Oh, no, that is what, okay. So these are the guides. Those are going to go there. And then if we do the same thing over here, but say get anim ground, throw that into here, and this will be, instead of grass, this should be ground. Okay, what's this? What's this angry about? Hmm. All right. Let me see here. Maybe we should have done one other thing here is instead of this. Let's see. These are source points. Target surface is there. Just see what's going on here. Yeah, this is basically what we did. But why is this? Let me just see what this is making here. Is this making any extra things? ID, skin prim. I must be missing one of these guide things here because I think this would be cool to do. Guide process? No. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how this should work. Let's see here if we do. Okay, let's try this. Okay. maybe we'll try this a little bit of a different way here. Let's see. So we have this. I'm just going to go back to the original sim. We'll just call this the ground. Cool. Great. Let's do a... Take this and we'll say create guides from that. Okay. So now we have guides here. Okay, let's set the length of these. We can just do set, cut or extend. Just do random. All right, let's just try this, see how this works. See if this hair process is any better for us here. Because this is going to hopefully respect all of the things we had done before. So let's see what happens here. Is this going to deform with it? Sure enough. It's already deforming with it. Cool. So let's see if we do guide simulate. What's the output here? Groom data, groom data. There we go. The Vellum solver. Lovely. What's happening here? Might everything fall? All right. Hold on a second here. Okay, cool. Let's see what's happening here. Cool. It's definitely not liking that. Probably because it's deforming geometry. Could I do something here like add in... Okay, so maybe we do it here instead. So let's try this here. So we guide process it. So here we grab the hair and the glue and the Vellum solver. Let's copy that over to here, paste it in. So we're going to use this. That. And that. There. See how this works. We don't even need to do this. We don't need this group because we know that it's going to be everything here. Yep. Here we're going to glue, but we're going to base it on the grass, and this does not need to be the ground, although we could technically do that, I guess. Why is that not showing their skin? Yes, okay. So we will do this based on grass and ground because that will be helpful for us because we need to put them both into the first input. Yeah, okay. So let's see. So let's merge these two together. Drop them in here. Have that simulate. Okay. Is this a two-dimensional VDB? No, it's not. Okay, here's what we'll do. We're just going to do this whole simulation in here instead of up here. So let's change the way this is working. So this is actually going to get output. Sorry, making a mess here. My bad. So take this there. So that's going to be our output is actually this rest grid because we're going to use that for the skin. Then we don't need to worry about this up here because those are all being done inside of the group data. So we're going to do that. Don't have to worry about all that stuff over there. Remove this. And then all of this stuff is going to, actually this stuff as well. So let's take all of this and those, copy them over to this node here, get rid of these. Okay, I think now we're getting somewhere. So this is going to go into here. We're going, these are just curves, so we're good there. So we can do pins. We're going to do a resample, but we're not actually going to change the length of those so that they're all set the way they should be. So we're going to turn off this maximum segment length, but we are going to set the curve view attribute. There we go. Those are the pinpoints. Here's grass. Here's the grass points. All set. Great. Then this geometry should have the ground as well and the ground points, so that's great. Cool. All good. So we're just going to do this simulation in here instead. This should work, hopefully. Because then we can turn these into guides and do all the fun stuff that we were doing before. And I'm going to take this out of here. Actually going to take a bunch of this stuff out. I'm going to take this out. Let's pull this out of here because we already have some of our stuff stored in there. We already have our base name set. So let's cut that out of there. Bring this into here, and we're going to use version 3. So if we go back to version 1, we should just see that. Yep, great. Okay. So version 3 will be stored in here. So now what we can do is we have our guides, we have our skin, we have our skin VDB. Okay, let's try this. See what happens. Maybe this will be just a huge failure and that'll be it. But we can see. All right. So this is going to go here. And what we're going to do is we're going to split this off based on, turn this off for a second because this should all come through. So let's split the group. We'll take the grass. The grass is going to go to the right. This is going to be the skin to the left. Right there. Cool. Great. Not sure what's going to go on here. This is just the surface VDB. And then we'll just do this. We'll just do a VDB from polygons. See if this will work. Actually, not 100% sure why that's not showing. Oh. Yeah, it's because it doesn't have really a surface. Okay, whatever. That's fine. We'll just drop that in there as well. That should be good. Cool. Great. Not sure that this totally matters here, but whatever. Okay. Just make sure these constraints are all working the way they were before. So we have cloth. We've got our glue constraints here. Cool. And what I'm going to do is actually maybe turn these down just a little bit. Oh, the density happens up here. That's right. Density 8. Maybe we'll do 6. I don't know. Let's do 10 relaxed iterations on that. Should make it a little more even. Too high. Too high. Whoops. Sometimes you shouldn't just grab things and start sliding them around. You're going to screw yourself over. Let's do 10. Cool. Okay. Great. Let's try that. Let's see what the simulation starts to look like. Don't understand why those are falling down the way they are. But okay, whatever. Oh. Interesting. Guess I could have done that from the other node. Oh well. Here we are. We've made it full circle. Don't understand why these hairs are falling over. Makes literally no sense to me. Let's see. Can I just... I just want to look at what's going on here with these. So let's blast something. So let's blast away, delete non-selected. So we're going to do constraint tag. Like so. Really all I'm doing here is just looking at these to make sure that's like why those are falling over. Like oh, I see why they're falling over. Because they're only getting these two. Okay, yep. It's basically creating a hinge. Cool. Perfect. All right, let's try 4. Is 4 going to do it? Nope. So we need to go a little further than 3.5. Because these are strictly right there. I don't understand. Now I do. Wasn't updating in the viewport, so that's great. All right, 4. It should solve it, and the maximum search distance should be maybe 0.5. And they don't need to go so high. So maybe what we do is grow the root selection a little bit. The pins, we'll use the pins maybe. And can we do, grow. Ooh, this is a qlib node. Reason to get qlib right here. Group grow. Let's see here if we can do this. Pins. Oh, yep. All right, so we're only going to do it with those bottom 3 pins, basically. Let's go to glue. The group is not going to be, it's going to be points, and instead of grass, it is going to be pins. Now it'll only be those bottom 3. In fact, if we want it to only be the bottom 2, we could just do this. Grow it by 1. There we go. Okay. Hopefully that solves it. Let's see. See what happens here. Go. Hopefully we don't have any that are just falling over anymore. Be nice. Yeah, it doesn't look like any are falling over. Great. Great. Version 3, save to disk and background. Go. Okay. Hopefully that will all work. Scan guides, all that stuff will come out. Cool. Hmm. Oh, well, this does not seem to be doing what I wanted it to. Now the skin isn't deforming. Guess I don't know as much about this hair stuff as I would like. It looks like a source of some research that I'm going to do. Could we come back here and do this? We probably can. Let me just double check. And to grow. Pins. Great. Got some nice stiff hairs moving around and stuff like that again. Cool. This project is a mess. My apologies for, sometimes things just don't work out the way you hope they do. But that's learning, right? Sometimes you gotta fail to learn. And that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing great at right now. Anyways, all right, so we've got this. Now the real question is, how on earth do we get these hairs? If we do this guide initialize. Nope, that's not it. It's weird. Is this what it is? Is it fur? Is it the fur node? Good lord. Hey, yay. Could be it. It could be all I needed. Let's see here. Split. Based on the groups. Do grass on one side. Let's invert it. skin geometry, guide geometry. What are we missing? Geometry. Oh yeah. Yep. What needs that rest? That's what I was gonna try. Okay. So rest, rest root, attribute, skin prim is required in all guides. Assuming that the skin prim is grow unguided hair. This is guides. Okay, so what we're going to do instead here is my mistake. We're going to do a rest here. And we're going to do a rest there as well. Just save that again, see if that makes us any happier here. Not sure that it will, but hey, you never know. All right, let's come down here and see what it's angry about still. Okay. Let's add a normal onto here as well. Let's just stop this cook. Cool. Let's add a normal. I think that's going to want a normal. Like so. And then I think what we can do here is, oh, what's going on there? Freaked out. Normal, scatter. There we go. Just say skin prim here. And that's going to do the primitive, basically, of that. Save that to disk in the background. See if that makes the hair gen any happier. It will. You never know. Okay. cook. Not sure if we could delete these from disk there, but that's okay. Okay, no problem. All right. Let's just do this and have it open that for us. There's where we were saving that. V1. I'll just delete this guy from disk. Easy enough. Cool. All right. So we need to promote that to the primitives. Okay, let's do that. Do an attribute promote. Do original name, skin prim from point to primitive. Hopefully that's good. Turn this off for a second. Just see if that does anything better for us. Reset that just to make sure that it actually loaded through. Doesn't seem that we are getting that. All right, folks. Well, unfortunately, this was not the most successful night of this ever, but hey, sometimes it happens. Doing stuff live, not always the best way to get it going, but hopefully you were able to learn a little bit about this. I'm probably going to keep fiddling with this and release an update probably over the weekend, I would guess, but we'll see. And yeah, so unfortunately, that's where I'm going to leave it for now. Hopefully you learned a couple little things, but it seems like I need to go learn some more stuff. So sometimes that's what happens with these live streams when they are just kind of off the cuff like this. My hope for next week is going to be doing a kind of a Q&A stream. So if you have questions, jump into the... jump into our Discord server and go to Houdini. Get the link from from the HoudiniHangout.com and jump in there and drop some suggestions in the topic suggestions. There's a little thing there for Q&A, and I made a little thread. So yeah, put them in there, and I think next week we'll be trying to do that. And for tonight, that is where we'll leave it. So hopefully you at least had fun, learned something, enjoyed me trying to struggle through some issues. And yeah, next week we'll talk about maybe some different questions that you might have about Houdini, or starting projects in Houdini, approaching different topics or ideas, things like that. So hopefully it'll be something interesting to learn, be very back and forth Q&A kind of style. Probably do a little bit of Houdini, a little bit of just talking. Really kind of depends on what the topics and questions will be that you guys put in the topic suggestions on Discord. So other than that, I think that's where we're leaving it. And yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. And yeah, keep an eye out for maybe some updates on this topic. And I will talk to you guys later. See ya.